Hello and welcome to the Raid Perspective Guide to soloing Kael'thas as a Retribution Paladin. First of all, if you're going to try soloing Kael'thas, you're going to want to have a talent spec that will increase your survivability. You may find that you won't need as many survivability talents as I've chosen in this select spec, but for starters, this is a great way to go. I've maximized all the talents highlighted in green. For prime glyphs, I use the regular Retribution glyphs. If you're running into survivability issues, you can always swap out Seal of Truth for Word of Glory. Since it's a level 73 boss, you're not going to have problems with expertise. As a quick overview of the fight, it comes in 5 phases. The first phase will have you fighting Kael'thas' advisors one after another. In the second phase, Kael'thas will summon 7 legendary weapons with differing abilities for you to deal with. The third phase is just like the first, except instead of dealing with the advisors one at a time, you get to deal with them all at once. In the fourth and fifth phase, you'll deal with Kael'thas directly, and he'll use different abilities in either phase. Before you pull the boss, you should mark all the advisors with a raid marker. Simply go up onto the platform, and then you'll start running out of the room. Your goal in the first phase is to kill the advisors in a way that will prepare you for the third phase. This means you'll want to kill all of the trash and the first boss before you fight Kael'thas. There will be a lot of roleplay before Kael'thas sends his first advisor at you, so you're going to run into position so that you'll be able to spread out the advisors for phase 3. For this fight, I use a couple extra buffs, the most important being a prismatic elixir. They'll increase your resistance a little bit, which will definitely help out. I've also got resistance aura running throughout the fight. I also stick to Seal of Truth unless the damage starts getting heavy, then I'll swap it over to Seal of Insight. Our first advisor actually walks, so when he finally makes it after a couple of minutes, he'll have a couple of abilities to use on you. One of his abilities is a knockback. You'll want to be careful of your position when you fight him. I've actually been knocked out of the instance by this. He also has a silence, and the ability to summon you to him, which sometimes happens in phase 3. His last ability is a dot. After killing him, it can be useful to use a Hand of Protection just to clear the debuff. Then you'll want to heal up and wait for the next advisor to make his way to you. The next advisor has a fear ability that's pretty harmless, and a slight damage increase he can do, which you won't even notice. He's not really an issue by himself. The problem with the advisors is when they're all stacked together and they all use their CCs. This is why you want to spread them out. The next advisor is much nastier than the others. She has 3 abilities, one of which is a 10-second CC. If you're not a human, you'll want to use a PvP trinket for this fight. I've done it on a non-human paladin without the trinket and done just fine, but it definitely doesn't hurt. As for her other abilities, she also has a little fireball that can kind of add up if you get CC'd. And she also has a arcane burst, which basically knocks you back and slows you. So when you do approach her, you're going to want to get your back to the wall as quickly as possible. One of the trinkets I've found in particularly helpful on this fight is the Tolbarad resistance trinket. I actually use this trinket for a later portion in the fight, but it doesn't hurt to use it here ahead of time. As you can see, I popped the trinket before she put me in her CC, and I'm just riding it out so I can get close to her and behind a wall. And if I do get CC'd again, I'll use my every man for himself. The last advisor has another crowd control ability that's really annoying. He's going to put a debuff on you that lasts for 1 minute, and it'll periodically and very randomly stun you for 4 seconds. You know, and that could happen in succession. It's just really random stuns. He also throws bombs at you that you'll want to try and just move out of the way of if possible. And those aren't really particularly threatening. You'll just want to kind of heal yourself up for a bit. The goal with him is you want to kill him just before that debuff falls off. You can just kill him really quick and right away, but I like to make sure that debuff is going to fall off or be close to falling off.
before I go into the next phase.
In the next phase you'll be fighting 7 legendary weapons, and it's really not that bad. With your Divine Storm's going to keep you healed up pretty easily. You'll just want to make sure that you target certain weapons first. The Cosmic Infuser will cast an interruptible heal, so you'll want to target that first, interrupt the heal when it comes, and kill it right away. The next weapon you're going to target is Devastation, because that will do a stacking damage over time. The rest of the weapons are rather inconsequential, and they're not going to do very much damage, so what order you kill them in really won't matter. As you kill each of the weapons, they actually become lootable, and you can pick up and use the weapons for 15 minutes while you're in the instance. For my strategy, and because I use the Tolbarad resistance trinket, that's really not necessary. If you were going to go in without the Tolbarad trinket and really needed resistance, you might pick up the shield and a melee one-hander to throw on at certain points in the fight though. So once you've taken care of all the weapons, heal up and get ready for all of the advisors to come up at once. You're basically going to be killing them in reverse order. The most threatening 2 advisors will be first, so you'll want to take care of the Engineer advisor as quickly as you can. He's going to put that minute debuff on you that will randomly stun you. If you can get him out of the way before the next advisor comes, you're in good shape. You'll want to close the gap as quickly as possible on the next advisor. As soon as she stuns you, you'll want to bubble. This will clear both the minute-long stun debuff from the previous advisor, and it'll give you time to kill her while you're immune to these CCs. I like to pop all of my DPS cooldowns on her to make sure she dies swiftly. The next 2 advisors are really easy, so I take my time killing them and building up holy power for Word of Glory. Once in a while you will get summoned by the first advisor. That's only really a problem if you haven't killed one of the crowd controlling advisors. You can really easily just get crowd controlled completely by all 4 of the advisors being up at once. But if you can do the 3rd phase, you've done the hardest part of the fight. Soon enough Kael'thas will come out, and he's got a couple of different abilities. First of all, he's got a fireball ability, which can be interrupted as well as line of sighted. It does a fair bit of damage, so you're going to want to interrupt it as much as possible. He can also summon phoenixes to assist him, which I generally leave alone during this phase until the transition, and then use them as punching bags to heal up on. A fun thing about soloing Kael'thas is you don't have to worry about mind control. There's been reports about Gertalak the weapon, those ads that it spawns being used as mind control and then resetting the fight, but I haven't had it happen to me. He's got a pair of abilities that work together and are a really lethal combination if you're not paying attention. He'll put up a shield that absorbs 80k damage and makes him immune to interrupts as long as it's up. You'll want to get this shield down as quickly as possible and interrupt as soon as you do. When these pyroblasts are unmitigated by spell resist, they hit for about 100k, so even at max level at 85, you're still going to run into trouble with them if you're not interrupting them. To make sure you don't get crushed by them, because it's pretty likely that you'll get hit by one before you can break the shield and do the interrupt, make sure you use that Tolbarad trinket. That's why I'd recommend it for this fight. When you get him down to 50%, he's going to run into his room, do some RP, and then you'll have phase 5. In the meantime, just clean up any leftover phoenixes and use them to heal. In the final phase, Kael'thas will almost immediately use gravity laps to make it so you can actually fly around in the instance. While you have this debuff that allows you to fly, he's going to cast Nether Beam on you, which does hardly any damage at all. He will put out some devastating void areas called Nether Vapors. If you step into them, you'll take damage and your health will be reduced by 10% for a minute. While you're able to fly, it's best to just back off so that you don't get caught up in one of those Nether Vapors and end up getting one shot because your health is so low. He retains his other abilities. For from Phase 4, and that's the fight. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to stay tuned for more raid perspective guides in the future.